So
you're the
how old
warmonger
were you
group.
how old were you when you voted for Reagan?
I was 26.
26. Okay. So you were old enough to have some sense, but you could have easily still been a hippie. So I wouldn't have voted for Reagan when I was back then. I would have still been too entranced by the blandishments of the left. So why was it that at that time Reagan was yeah.
Well, like I said, I had voted for Jimmy Carter about that. And then after, which reminds me very much, those times remind me very much of what's going on today. There's this malaise that Carter had his malaise speech.
Right.
The country had lost confidence in itself. About who we are. We was kind of accepted that we were a nation in decline. It was after Watergate. It was after Vietnam.
The oil crisis.
And
the hostages.
Jimmy Carter was like, we tried to be and play nice with the Soviets during that time, as far as peace. Jimmy Carter did a great job with in the Middle East with Egypt and Israel, but when it came to the Soviets, it was like we gave away the B-1 bomber for nothing in return. And we kept for nothing in return just to show our goodwill, I guess. And it's the way the real politic works in the world. They were doing the biggest military buildup and they were going into Africa. They were all over the world. They were making great strides into Central America and the like. And Reagan, who had always been, this kind of cold warrior and great communicator, came along and told people to pick yourself up. There's a brighter day ahead. And it was the perfect time for him.
Right. He also had a very stark message, which was that, and very forthright, which was unapologetically that the Soviets were an evil empire.
Yeah.
Which they certainly were. And so he put his finger on that perfectly. And so...
Yeah, that was all by design. He didn't talk to the Soviets for the first 6 years of his presidency because they kept dying on him.
Right. That's right. They were putting forward like one 90-year-old after another, right?
Yeah.
There was a sequence of them that lasted about 6 months in office.
Right. But up until his presidency, it had been appeasement with the Soviets. I think Kennedy did a really great job of it. Nixon was actually, no matter what you think of him personally, he was probably had the most knowledgeable world affairs president we've ever had. But Carter, he tried to be a nice guy.
Yeah, well, he was he was an agreeable person.
In the same way he personally got together Sadat and Reagan, which he did a great job of. But no.
The thing is, being empathic and warm and compassionate, that works real well with people who are honest, decent, and really,
at the local level.
And at the local, that's exactly right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's a within family ethic.
Right.
With the real thugs, it's not the right approach because they just think you're a sheep.
These players on the world scene, they're badasses. And that's one of the attractions that I had for Reagan. At least, he's a badass, but he's my badass.
Yeah. And a principled person.
A principled person.
Right, which was a remarkable thing also to pull off, I would say, in Hollywood, because I'm sure that he was subject to the same temptations that people are generally subject to in Hollywood.
Yes. And I'm sure gave into quite a few of those temptations. He was a human being. But, he always picked himself up. He was, his movie career, I think he was disappointed in his film career.
Yeah.
He was a B movie actor.
Yeah.
And, the films were never quite up to what they should be. It's kind of like, he could have been John Wayne, but there was already John Wayne.
Right. The niche was occupied.
That was there. Yeah. And, that he was married to Jane Wyman, whose career went like this, and his just kind of stayed there. And he became vice president and then president of the Screen Actors Guild.
Yeah.
During that time, you know, because his career was fading, really, and it's there that his real fight against communism started. You know, even though it was kind of rumored, you know, you got to be crazy, but they really, after the Soviet Union fell, come to find, you go to the archives, come to find out they really were in our unions, and especially in Hollywood, and.
Yeah, well, it's
and
you don't
he
want
had Reagan actually had physical scars on his back from fights. He got seriously beat up in a brawl at the Union Hall. In fact, from that, and he had scars on his back, and so he didn't like communism.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, it's easy for us